Sims, and we are back with more Code Realize Wintertide Miracles, and we are still playing the Cantarella Path, and we're with Eigel now, and we're hearing his life story. He's precious. He's our little baby Lupin love child. Oh, Lupin! I didn't think you were old enough to have kids, but damn, boy, what were you doing? Anyway, I was born and raised in a suburb of London not too far from here. My family was, well, pretty well off. I mean, yeah, you got a fucking castle and robots. I mean, you've got a magic moving castle TARDIS with robots. Pretty fucking impressive, hell. Anyway, long ago, we even held the proud rank of Baron. Yes, that's correct. That's why I call myself Baron Eigel. Titles are useful in many ways, so I was able to benefit somewhat. But I digress. Even after I forfeited the noble rank, I still possessed a large sum of money. I got along well enough with my family, and any onlooker would have been envious of our apparent happiness. Yes, I believe we were quite content then. Except for one thing. The fact that their only son, myself, was born unable to move his legs. I'm not reading his voice the way I'd given it to him before. He's kind of transitioned now. His voice has changed over time. Because at first he seemed quite like, whatever, haha, I'm gonna take you, and then it was, more slightly awkward, and so like, he just slowly progressed into something, I don't know, anyway. The illness itself that affected my legs wasn't terribly serious. The treatment was over almost immediately. However, the problem remained. No matter how much I practiced, no matter how hard I tried, my legs just wouldn't move. Myself and my family... Bird, what? What are you doing? We all believed at first that I'd be able to walk eventually. As time passed, however, expectation became disappointment, and disappointment became pity. It wasn't long before I started shutting myself inside my room. Bird! My only comfort were the many books that my parents would buy for me each month. Perhaps it was a reaction to staying inside all the time. I grew to greatly admire the grand ventures and technologies that were written in these books. In particular, a story of Hell's moving castle. This is a moving castle. A story of a moving castle, a prince and a princess as its main characters. It's quite a famous fairy tale, so perhaps you two are familiar. In any case, my days of immersing myself in the world of books continued. I can recall a cold night when I was still little. There I was, casually staring out the window, and then I saw it. Beyond the haze of the fog far away, in the wastelands, what I saw there was something spewing out steam. Oh my fucking god, this is Howl's moving motherfucking castle, I can't even! Fangirls screaming! Spacey's actually screaming. Oh my god! I couldn't believe my eyes at first, thinking it must be a giant or a dragon. However, as the fog wavered, I could make out more and more parts of it. Its tall steeples, its outer walls of steel. Indeed, it was a castle. A massive castle, just like the one in the fairy tale, that moves through the wilderness with its incredible power. The impression it left on me that night is something I'll never forget. It was a sensation describable to what I imagined being struck by lightning must feel like. My heart was aflutter. When morning arrived, I breathlessly told my parents and acquaintances about the experience. However, as one would expect, no one would believe me. Everyone simply told me that it must have been nothing more than a dream. There were even those who spread rumors saying that I must have hallucinated something because I wasn't able to go outside. I was incredibly frustrated, not at the fact that nobody would believe me, but rather that nobody would even begin to acknowledge the possibility of a wonderful castle filled with dreams and adventure. I love him so much. Oh my god. And so, driven by a passion like none I've ever felt before. On the night of that very same day, I left with a cane in hand. That's correct. I wanted to prove everyone wrong by finding that castle. However, that would prove a reckless act. No matter my conviction, there's no way my legs would suddenly begin cooperating. I fell repeatedly. Many times I'd fall face first. But by journey's end, I was completely covered in dirt and reduced to a crawl. And then, finally arriving at my destination, there was nothing. The only thing nearby was a small tower that stood by itself. It was a gigantic figure on its own, but a castle was nowhere to be seen. I had reached my breaking point. I laid there, arms and legs spread out, looking at the sky and crying. Perhaps what my parents said was true. This poor thing! That a moving castle was just an illusion, a manifestation of my fragile mind. But then, in the wilderness at night, when no one else should possibly be around, someone spoke to me as I lay there. I don't know if this is a man or woman, but anyway, a child? This is no place for a child. Appearing from the small tower in the middle of nowhere as a man in his prime, wearing a puzzled expression. As painful as it was to speak at this point, I answered him in a desperate voice. I came to see the moving castle. Everyone said I was lying, so I wanted to prove that it was real. I responded as such. Then the man relaxed his expression. You want to see the moving castle, you say? Now there's something I haven't heard in some time. Well, let's see. I was all too ready to keep it buried, but I wouldn't mind showing it to someone one last time. He then fiddled with the machine that he held in his hand, and then the earth shook. More specifically, the earth slowly rose, resounding its deep rumble through the night, shaking away the dirt and sand that coated it. Something began peeking its head from the ground. That something was the same castle I saw on that foggy night. The emotion I felt then is indescribable. I picked myself up from the ground, gripping my cane, and asked the man, "Why are you burying it? It's such an amazing castle." "Because it's no longer needed. Its original purpose was an experiment to transport large amounts of mass. But it became this shape thanks to my own sentimentality, a design I had made for my own amusement, a remnant of a dream. I don't have anyone to show it off to, so I'm glad that I was at least able to show it to you in the end." I desperately clung to the man who smiled sadly. "If you're just going to bury it, then give it to me. Ordinarily, I'd be fine with that. However, it's possible to move now. I was only able to move it now by spending its auxiliary energy." It's impossible to move now. "Even I have no way to move the castle any longer. However," he continued, "if a miracle were to occur, then and only then could it be activated once more by the songstress chosen by this castle." This is like the greatest fairy tale love story ever. It's so Cantarella, they're gonna fall in love and get married. But that songstress is nowhere to be found. Or perhaps I should say that she doesn't yet exist. Right? Because she's gonna be created in a lab. With those parting words, he disappeared into the wilderness. All that remained was a sunken castle, a lone tower, and a boy obsessed with his new dream. It's so precious. He's so precious, our sweet baby Lupin love child. Who did I meet that day? I can't say whether it was a wizard, a scientist, or an illusion. Regardless, I believed his words about the miracle-working songstress who can perhaps move this castle once again. I believed in those words and have since set about to look for ways to activate the castle. Eigel, real! A timid young man, born with an illness that rendered him unable to walk. He managed. Dragged himself, but still. And the moving castle, I fucking love how it's all capitalized, was given to him as a young child, and he seeked a songstress's voice so that it might move once more. Oh my god, it was Hal that gave him the castle. That's what it was. He's like, "I can move the castle, my Sophie is dead. Yeah, take the castle, I leave." Oh! It was a wizard. It was, oh my god! I'm sorry, but there is no way in motherfucking hell you can tell me that they didn't write this story with Hal's moving castle in mind, and they were like, "We're totally gonna," and someone, and like some people might not get it, but there's gonna be a lot of people that get it. You cannot fucking tell me that they just magically happened to have this idea. They, nope. This was done on purpose, bitches. My parents passed away not long after, and I decided to take residence here. I studied feverishly, and I was able to reactivate some of the functions that were disabled, and even a doll like this. And recently, I've finally reached a stage in which all that's left is to obtain the activation key. And that key is Cantarella's singing? Indeed, if that man's words and documents are to be believed, and if my research is correct, he's so sweet. And this castle should appear again by using the voice of a particular person as its key. So that's why you needed to bring her all the way here. Oh my, the story has just become something else entirely. I know, romantic and beautiful. I mean, it's kidnapping, but like, whatever. A moving castle that only the chosen songstress can control. I feel as though I've become part of the fairy tale that Cantarella had taught me. I mean, you kind of saw where that was going. He's trying to like catch someone and he's doing something that she's singing that song, and you're like, okay, how's Moving Castle? This is, yeah. Let's assume your story is true. Why do you insist that I'm the fairy tale songstress? Simple. I have a measuring device. I analyzed your voice with it, and it returned a matching result of 100%. No, far beyond that. Feeling somewhat uneasy to those words, I began to speak once more. So it was a close match. But what you haven't yet answered is, why was it Cantarella out of all people? Th- that's something I can't answer either. Perhaps a mere coincidence, or perhaps she has some connection to this castle. I mean, maybe our dad made. Wait, 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 wait. This is Spacey in the game going. Wait a minute. I'm gonna guess Isaac built this fucking shit because why wouldn't he? He had something to do with this because his hand is in all the fucking dirty shit. His hand is in all the mechanical fucking shit in this whole goddamn, this whole everything. And she has the voice of our mother. That's what it was. Some kind of twist like that. I don't know. I'm just waiting for it. But whatever the reason, it's all but assured that my dream would come true. Shouting with a dramatic gesture of his arms, Eigel swiftly moves uh, the automaton chair closer to us. This castle is my one and only dream. I've given up everything to chase it, and that's why I will not give up. So please, I implore you, Cantarella. I'll grovel at your feet and fan you with palm leaves afterward if you like. Please, would you grant my wish? Oh, just do it. He's so precious. I wish to travel the world with this castle as my legs. Cantarella stares in silence as Eigel lowers his head. Why are you suddenly glaring at me like that? Did I say something odd? No, I understand. And no matter how I look at it, you don't seem to be the sort who could do bad deeds. So I shall help you. Are you sure, Cantarella? I am. Singing is all I have. If someone wants me to sing, I'll sing. That's all. With a rather self-deprecating word, she takes a step forward, and then they're gonna fall in love. All I ask is that no matter the result, you return her to London and her friends who are waiting for her. Yes, of course. I swear it on my name. He's so adorable. Look at his precious happy face. Oh my god. Shall I sing right here? And what do I sing? Oh, the voice recognition won't activate unless you return to the hall. As for the song, anything really. Alright, this won't take long. I'll be back in a moment. Oh, wait, I'll be present too, of course. Ignoring his protest, Cantarella steps outside of the room. Say, is it just me, or is she in a worse mood than ever? It's been a long day. She was sick in bed until just before you arrived. I don't want her to strain herself, so if something happens, I'm not going to hesitate to stop her. Understood? Frankly, I want to stop her right away, but from her behavior a moment ago, I doubt she'd listen. But of course, my goal is to make my dream a reality. Dreams are a thing of hope and romantic aspirations. Could I genuinely be happy if someone is harmed in the process? Look at he's so adorable. Yes. My first impressions weren't exactly positive, but Eigel seems to be a kind-hearted person at his core. At the center of the hall, Cantarella is already getting prepared. She takes a series of long breaths to warm her throat and prepare her lungs. So as not to interrupt her, Eigel and I watch from a distance. I thought I'd never hear Cantarella sing like this again. Her expression looks glum as she stands there. I wonder if she'll ever be able to sing happily again. Yes, because she's going to fall in love with Eigel. She seems to have finished preparing. She looks across the hall that was set up to resemble a stage. She breathes in as deeply as she can and bends her slender throat. Then, I'm not singing. Can you hear the beautiful voice in the background? Can you hear it? melody begins to shake the very air around us. Surely such a powerful sound can't be contained to this theater alone. Her voice reverberates through the room, tingling our skin. So, so this is her voice. It's incredible. It's like that of a true fairy tale songstress. He's so in love. It's adorable. The song she begins to sing is the song that she sang to me at the theater before her performance. The fairy tale about the beautiful princess who loved to sing and casted a spell on the castle. I mean, it's the perfect song, right? She probably chose that song because she thought it was the most appropriate for the situation. I mean, legit. The songstress who sings to move the castle. The world, precisely as it was written in the fairy tale, begins to spread out before us. What was that sound? Cantarella's voice was formally authorized by the device in the hall. Hardly a moment after Eigel's excited proclamation. With a fierce quake, Cantarella's singing is interrupted. What's happening? The intensity of the shaking is powerful enough that she can't stay standing without grabbing onto something. One person, however, raises his voice with little regard for the violent quake. It worked! The castle is finally activated! My prediction was correct! He's so cute! And the time has come at last for my clockwork castle to awaken from its long slumber. Clockwork Castle! That's Hal's moving castle. A long-buried mechanical castle that was brought to life with the singing voice of the chosen songstress, Cantarella. I fucking love this side story. Meanwhile, as Eigel rejoices... There's no way for Spacey and the others to know what was happening, but if someone were witnessing the scene from the outside, they'd probably describe it like so. First, there was a sound reminiscent of a great howl of a beast. Then, beginning from the tower in the wilderness, the earth crumbles and begins to collapse. This looks more like a machine of, like, war. That looks scary. It's a fucking tank, motherfucker. I was expecting it to... The tower stretches upward as it reaches ever higher into the heavens. This looks scary now. The movie... And that's when you realize... Oh, this is a colossal mechanical castle has risen up from the earth, like a titan trampling the earth and devouring the sky. This looks scary, not... This is Howl's moving castle if it had a grudge. Like, its majesty manifests in the blink of an eye. He gonna crumble some shit. I can already feel it in my ears. And the atmospheric pressure has completely changed. We're at a much higher altitude than we were but moments ago. And this could only mean that the castle has awoken and risen from the depths of the earth. My dream has come true. With this castle, I can do anything. I can go anywhere. I was able to prove that man's words wrong when he said this wasn't a possibility. Did it really move? I voice my skepticism, but there's hardly any denying it. Though I haven't checked outside yet, that strange sensation of my entire body rising in the air was definitely real. Not to mention, I can hear the sound of a steam engine operating, which isn't something I could hear before. Without a doubt, Cantarella's singing caused some sort of change to this castle. Paying no heed to my own astonishment. Thank you, Cantarella. Eigel maneuvers the chair over to Cantarella. He wears a childlike smile on his face now, different from any expression he's shown. Thanks to you, my lifelong dream has come true. Truly, I can't possibly thank you enough. No, I sincerely mean it. I cannot rest until I repay you in some way. It's fine. I really didn't do much. I've got it. Why don't I take you to anywhere you'd like to go? Wherever you please. With this castle, we can go anywhere. If you'd like, we can even invite your family here. Cantarella becomes stiff. Her expression freezes. Yes, an ingenious idea if I do say so myself. It shall be the memory of a lifetime for your entire family. Imagine the looks on their faces when they find out you moved the castle yourself, so... Oh, wait, Eigel! Now's really not the time. But it's too late. I don't deserve such gratitude. Huh? She wraps her arms around herself. The reality that she's been trying so hard to forget about is suddenly thrust at her. And there's no way I can make that man happy. Even if I called him here, surely he'd just glare at me and ask, "Why are you still alive?" Cantarella, stop! He wouldn't. No, I understand better than anyone. He never smiled at me again. I'm useless to him. Hey, what's this about? What in the world are you talking about? Her eye twists in pain as she glares at Eigel. Try as she might, she's unable to hold back the agonizing words she'd been keeping at bay. You're no different, are you? Fairy tale songstress! And don't make me laugh! I'm just a device you needed to activate the castle! It's not like you needed me, living, breathing Cantarella! Oh. Cantarella. Eigel has no idea about what transpired only moments before his arrival. It would be an understatement to say his choice of words were ill-timed. Surely she realizes herself that she's unfairly taking out her anger on him. But even so, she'd probably escalate to yelling if she continued. I'm sure she's wishing that anyone understood her sadness and despair. I do, but... I didn't mean... That much was simply beyond Eigel, who had ceased all communication with others for so long. Casting aside the uncomfortable atmosphere, the hall quakes once more. Why did it suddenly start moving? An eerie silence is the only response. But then, suddenly, the floor around Cantarella collapses without warning. Ah! Cantarella! Her body at its center, she begins sliding toward the hole that opened. Jesus, now the castle's gonna kill us. Immediately, I rush over and stretch out my hand, but there's no way I'll make it. Spacey! Gravity is her enemy as she's pulled into the hole, the bottom of which we can't even see. We lose sight of her, and suddenly the floor closes up, restoring itself to how it had been before. What was that? What in the world is happening? The castle is taking her. With hardly a clue as to what just happened, I'm thrown in like an object onto a surface that feels like a floor. Urging my sore body, I managed to sit up and examine my surroundings. It appears to be a mechanical space. The amount of machines far outnumber even those in Eigel's room, and I can't feel the presence of life at all. Whatever the case, I need to get out of here. I sluggishly bring myself to my feet. I begin looking around for an exit of any kind. I know she's probably actually in reality wandering around, but I love how they just pan. So she's like, I've been looking around, and she just glances. Nope, no escape. You didn't even, like, it's literally like she's just turning her head. You know she's not, but. Also, look at the fucking thing in front of her, that throne. Dead ahead between those logs, like a throne. And then you look up and it's like fucking Satan. Like on the ceiling, peering down. Like, what the fuck is that? That intense emotion in my chest from only moments before is no longer there. My emotions came full circle from the sheer abruptness of the event, and now I feel calm. I wouldn't feel calm in here. That's like Satan's fucking throne right there. I feel bad for how I lashed out at Eigel. It's not like anything will get any better by taking it out on him. Regardless of how traumatized I was. And now then, come along with me. It's not the voice I gave him. Eigel, and the castle. We're in need of you, she who's unparalleled in this world. The illusion I was living had crumbled, trampled by the family I loved. How selfish of me, then, to cling to those words while I wallow in despair. To have expectations and then to feel betrayed. Despite my state of self-hatred, I continue to peer around the environment. I notice a dark gray door near the back, almost as though it's intended to be hidden. It seems quite heavy. I'm not even sure if I can open it on my own. Only one way to find out. I step closer and... Spacey, my dear daughter. A heat quickly builds up in my head. were you expecting our voice was the one that was going to wake it up? And my vision turns white and my heart screams out in pain. Unable to withstand the agony and heat, I fall to the floor. It's a pain incomparable to the convulsions from before. Frankly, it's a small miracle that I'm even able to stay conscious through it. Now, my twitching hands immediately reach for my secret pocket. However, the usual medicine I kept there is no longer there. Of course, even if it were, if Miles was to be believed and it was poison...
Spacey, can you hear my voice?
An unfamiliar voice echoes through my head again, and the headache makes a violent cracking sensation. As my consciousness slowly slips away, my brain imparts a brief message. Of course it's a familiar voice. After all, this voice belongs to Father, whom I love dearly. Isn't that right, Spacey? No! That's not me! And that's not my name! That's the name of the gentle girl whom I'd been speaking to only moments ago. And yet, why do I have the strangest feeling that I've heard her name somewhere, even long before I met her? Why do I feel such a strong sense of familiarity to her very existence? I'm... Cantarella! Miles Strand is my... I've had quite enough with the playing house routine. My words are cut off by those terrible memories. All the while, those memories I'd kept contained to the deepest recesses of my heart break free. The gruesome scene where my countless dead bodies were piled. The fake, warm memories that were forcefully burned into me. The abnormal color of my hair, my deformed right eye, and the fear of being discarded by Father for those very reasons. No! I'm not fake! Because I was able to move this castle that you created! So I beg of you, don't dispose of me! I'm Spacey. To prove that, I sing. Blood coursing through my right eye and throat, I sing the sad and painful song of grief.
Oh, girl's trying to take my identity.
Cantarella! Cantarella! I frantically pound on the door, but there's no response at all. I go, what's going on? Where's Cantarella? I'd like to know the same thing. And no such function was documented in the papers left behind. Whoa. An impact like a jolt, different from the rumbling earlier, strikes us. What now? Is the castle moving again? Then a disturbing possibility crosses my mind. I go, wasn't your dream to use this castle to walk around the world? Yes, it is. What of it? The song was interrupted partway through, so we only floated and came to a halt. But what would happen if Cantarella were to continue singing right now? That's... Igel is at a loss for words. In place of his reply, an even more violent rumble presents us with a clear answer.
And this is... Oh. This would be... And then she crashes into the opera house.
I don't know who's saying this. I had a dream once.
Oh my god, is this mild? A bloke like me with an adorable daughter. And although we're poor, we live our lives together with smiles and cheer. It's a dream I'll never deserve. That dream began over a decade ago. It all started with my encounter with a certain man. Hey there. Would you happen to be of the oft-spoken... Oh, I'm sorry. It's probably, I doubt it's... I'm assuming it's, Isaac. Hey there. Would you happen to be the oft-spoken of second-in-command of Twilight? Doesn't matter. It's Miles. I much prefer that name to whatever bizarre title my colleagues may have decided to give me without my say. Whoops. Sorry about that. Call it osmosis, since that's just about the only thing folks call you by. Though I suppose Miles is something of an alias itself, yeah? Whatever the case, it's the name I go by. And who might you be, and what business do you have with me?
Theophrast? Theophrast? I was like, I had to check. I'm like, that's not Triskemeganicus. That's not Triscuits. But I had to pause. I'm like, toothpaste? Okay. This might be, it can't be Moriarty. Because Moriarty wouldn't be, he was Moriarty. You're telling me that he's like toothpaste too? Like, Theophrast. My name is Theophrast. The man will be your partner from this day forth. He flashes a smile so eloquent that I can't help but be annoyed. Ha! I respond with a sneering laugh, and our first meeting quickly devolves into a fist fight. A rather hilarious memory I look back on fondly. The Twilight of that time had just been founded. It wasn't even a special intelligence agency of the government yet. It was still undefined and without explicit purpose, acting more like a private army. Although it may share the name of the agency we know today, this Twilight was more of its predecessor. Of its members, Toothpaste was a member who specialized in the collecting and manipulating of information. I know it's Theophrast, but I like calling him Toothpaste. It's funnier. His jolly demeanor stood out among a group of mostly gloomy faces, and apparently, he was the man assigned as my assistant. Back in those days, I was in an unprecedented position as both a government official and a member of Twilight. I'd perform my auditing duties at the government office, and I'd monitor any unlawful flow of money. I worked diligently to collect information, using my government insider status. And when ordered, I'd act on my own. And so the role I was left with was rather modest and behind the scenes. But it was a quiet job, and my success rate was 100%, so I quickly rose through the ranks. Before I realized it, I was being called second in command as if that meant anything to me. This man was assigned to assist me, providing me with information on my targets. If I could describe him in a single sentence, he was a man so honest that he was a fool. My goal is to carry out justice for the rest of my days. Ha! Now there's something I never expected to hear in the midst of this shady group. You do realize how contradictory that is, right? Of course, I'm not nearly naive enough to believe that everything I do is lawful and in the name of justice. But soon I hear Twilight will be getting the government's approval to transition to an intelligence agency, albeit in secret. When that happens, our collective actions will be for the better of the country. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be like Alistair, but we can dirty our hands here all we please, but if we continue to fight back evil, surely England will become all the more affluent, and no child will ever be born hungry again. I was so astonished I couldn't even respond. What kind of catastrophic clerical mistake must have happened for a fellow like him to join this organization? It was plainly evident that even if we were under direct governmental control, we'd still be handling all the dirty work. All right, now it's your turn. I don't know who said, huh? A dream. Your dream. Just wouldn't do to keep it bottled up after I told you mine, yeah? I never asked you. My objection was restrained by his persistence as he refused to back down. With little choice in the matter, I let out a sigh and spoke the first thing that came to mind. A family then. I like to marry a beauty and have an adorable child or some such. Ah, mercy. What a modest dream for someone in such a high position. But I understand what you mean. A successor to your legacy and soul. What a feeling that must be. I don't have any parents, so I can only imagine what a family would be like. I'm not sure who's saying what. I'm stuck with just a cocky damn little brother I've never seen, so I can't really imagine either. Well, either way, surely a soul passed down from such a tainted parent wouldn't make for a decent child. Yeah, Mr. Realist. Some kind of a dreamer you are. Okay, I'm not sure who's fucking talking now. Good grief, any child of yours is going to grow up to be a real cynic, I can guarantee that much. I hate this because sometimes the two sentences are spoken by the same person, and sometimes they're the opposite person, but you don't fucking know, and that's what I hate about these. They need to give some indication, like, this is the other person, this is the person you're being. Anyway. And I bet your kid will excel in petty theft and nitpicking what others say. Okay, I don't know. I never met a man more foolish and naive. I'm not sure who... I mean, his dream is about the kid, but then they went back and... I don't fucking know anyway. But somewhere along the lines, I grew to almost enjoy our conversations and banter. Perhaps I even grew to appreciate the way he continued to believe in his justice despite
and the many crimes he committed. The time we spent together outside of our missions grew, and before we knew it, we grew familiar enough to teach one another our skills and knowledge. Oh my god, wait a minute. Is this like Lupin's mentor? Is Toothpaste his mentor? And that's because like Miles is like, oh, well, blah, 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 ha, ha, ha. You were taught those tricks. Because Lupin was taught those tricks, right? However, that was but a fleeting moment of peace. Before long, the justice that Toothpaste, Theophrast, had so believed in was shattered thoroughly. What in the hell is this? It truly was like stepping through the gates of hell. Countless girls of various ages, all with the same face, floated in culture tanks. It was a scene that even a rotten to the core bloke like myself would find horrendous. The one who let us inside as casually as though he were entering one's living room was the founder and head of Twilight, the world-renowned scientist and genius Isaac Beckford. That's right. I suppose this is the first time you two have been here. Sorry to be a bother, but I'd like your help disposing of the ones that I no longer need. Creating life as one pleases and then discarding the unwanted results. There's no way they could ever be for the sake of the country, nor for the many children in poverty for that matter. Bearing witness to a glimpse of the deepest, darkest abyss of the organization we'd played major roles in. In that instant, feeling denied of everything he'd been involved with until now, Theophrast ideals and spirit were completely shattered. Though he wasn't the only one to feel this way. I'd been influenced by his dream as well, so this was like a dagger in my heart all the same. I'm considering leaving Twilight. Call it a premonition, but I had a feeling he'd say just that later. Theophrast's drooped-down face completely lacked the cheerfulness of when we'd first met. The days we spent discarding the many dead experimental subjects had changed even his appearance. I won't lend my hand to Isaac's atrocities any longer. Even as we speak, these mad deeds are preparations for him. His true goal is something far more sinister. Perhaps I should note that Theophrast was still the one in charge of intelligence. It seems he'd obtained some important information regarding Isaac's future plans. He never did tell me about the details. But considering it concerned a man with a deranged sense of ethics, there was a high probability that it would threaten the lives of many. So I asked him, if you run away now, you'll be turning your back on the justice you swore to uphold. Won't you regret that? As if you even need to ask. Of course I would. Turning a blind eye, turning my back. That's the complete opposite of the justice I seek. But I just can't do this anymore. When I close my eyes, even my dreams, I can hear the screams of the children I couldn't save, and my hands won't stop shaking. Miles, I'm just so tired. Let me just rest for a moment. I accepted those words, so there's no doubt in my mind that I'm equally guilty. What came next happened quickly. For better or worse, we were both in a position of power. We secured an escape route, and all personnel possibly capable of stopping us were dispatched outside of London ahead of time. Even if we were caught, the remaining soldiers wouldn't be able to stop us. The escape was even easier than we'd expected. However, at the very end, Theophrast had a bit of unfinished justice to attend to. Before I finish things, I'm gonna help myself to some valuable information from that Isaac bastard. One day, if a miracle should occur and I find the courage I once had, I'm gonna strike back with it. Speaking in such vague terms, it really must have been wishful thinking. But even in that moment, I saw a glimmer of light in his eyes. Our resolve hardened. We stepped into the hellish research facility once more. We hadn't been here in some time. It had the exact same eerie air about it. Most of the culture tanks were empty now, and the few that weren't contained nothing that could be considered alive. Come on. They're not human. They're just dolls. Hey! You were trying to hit on me, you bastard! They're all dead besides. I tried to convince myself as I searched for any information of value. It was at that moment. A young girl lay on the floor, leaning against a culture tank. She opened her eyes along with a groan. Her left eye, a beautiful jade green, stared at me. Her right eye, however, was clearly deformed, the white of her eye completely black. Both eyes upon me, she stretched her small, trembling hand forward.
Help me.
Suddenly, before I realized it, she was in my embrace. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, we can't afford to bring her along. I know. We're in a race against time. We can scarcely afford any unnecessary additions. However, I obstinately shook my head. She asked for help, even though no one could have taught her those words. There's no way that a child begging for help could be constructed. She's desperately clinging to life. She's human. I can't abandon her. When our eyes met, even for the briefest moment, I could hardly contain my happiness that she was alive. Come now, Theophrast. Let me do a good deed for once in my life. Just once I'd like to follow my own feelings and sense of justice like you once did. All right, this is your first and likely last selfish decision after all. But be prepared. No matter how far you run, Isaac and Twilight's shadow will always be lurking behind that child. When those shadows befall you, will you be able to risk your own life? I wonder about that. I've turned into a complete coward since meeting you. But I think I got enough left in me to at least ensure this child grows up smiling. She has such beautiful eyes. If she smiled, I bet she'd be the prettiest girl in the entire world. And then you were trying to hit on her identical doppelganger. You're a little creepy. Getting a bit of your head of yourself there, eh, Mr. Doting Parent? Parent? I suppose you've got a point. If I'm going to take this child in, I'll be your parent. Sure didn't think that dream still in. Sure didn't think that dream I talked about way back when would come to this. Once Theophrast and I safely get out of the research lab, we bid each other farewell. Theophrast decided to leave the country for now and forget about these dark days of despair.
Toothpaste 1. A jolly man who is determined to carry out justice. A member of Twilight since its early days, he worked together with Miles as partners. He defected from Twilight alongside Miles upon learning of Isaac's inhumane acts and fled to a foreign country, France.
Myself, on the other hand, I decided to stay in London, despite the dangers I was well aware of. If something were to happen to this child who was born from unusual circumstances, I may not be able to treat her elsewhere. He and I parted ways, but we made a single promise in the end. If Theophrast finds his justice once more and returns to the city to thwart Isaac, when that time comes, I'll help him however I can. Farewell, Theophrast, my one and only friend who taught me justice and how to dream. Yeah, have a lovely life with your daughter, and don't cry too hard when she goes off and gets married, yeah? We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. It's gonna be to you, you creeper. Anyway, even our banter in the end was just so very us. Oh, their romance is cute. A few years passed. I learned of Theophrast's death through rumors, and I realized that her promise would never be fulfilled. Then, as if waiting for the precise timing...
It hurts! It's hot! It burns! Help me, Father! Father!
I discovered Isaac's cursed relic that was left inside my daughter. Miles wakes up in the back alley with a dull pain.
Miles Strand, past. A member of Twilight since its early days, he is quickly influenced by Theophrast as the two interact. He later discovers Isaac's inhumane acts and takes custody of the then-child Cantarella before defecting from Twilight. He's been a father to her ever since.
The first thing he saw when he opened his eyes were the demolished walls of the house, and the Twilight soldiers tied up along the ground. I see, I'm sorry. I was like, oh, yeah. He's like, gonna fucking kill you. Oh, you don't fuck with Van Helsing. Finally awake, huh? You got quite the nerves of steel. Nah, quite the contrary. I'd rather be knocked out cold immediately. I didn't think I'd fall behind you youngsters, but I guess I've been out of the swing of things for some time now. After the metal carriage suddenly stormed in and carried the two away, Lupin's crew and the Twilight soldiers entered into a melee. Miles had fallen into a state of unexpected shock during that time, but even if he were completely prepared and had his guard up, the result probably would have been the same versus Van Helsing. Yeah, you can't win against Van Helsing, I'm sorry. Van Helsing pins him to the ground while the rest of Lupin's crew glares at him from above. So then, Miles. Saint Germain steps forward, his expression unchanging. Yeah, I know! His expression unchanging! Yeah, okay, Captain Obvious, what the fuck? And the sky is blue and water is wet. He has, like, 3 expressions. This is his angry face and his happy face and his serious... This is all of his faces, pretty much. It's very imperceptibly different. Like, when he smiles, it's like, oh, he's smirking. But this is his normal face. Although, you can kind of see the I'ma fuck you up in the eyes. Even though they're not even open. But there's something in the eyebrows and the, you know. My apologies for putting a damper on your brisk awakening. But we must ask that you tell us all that you know. To start, regarding Baron Eichel, is he collaborating with you in Twilight? Eichel? Ha! So that's who he was. Sorry to disappoint you, but he's completely unrelated. Besides, when secrecy is your principle, it wouldn't do to associate with someone of such flashy personage. I don't get the impression that he's lying. I don't think his shock when the Baron appeared was an act either. I see. In which case, his objective is completely unrelated to that of the Baron's. I would wager to guess. You all seem quite calm. Aren't you worried about your princess after she was kidnapped by such a weirdo? Ha! You underestimate our princess. I know, I like how they're like, no, she'll hog time and have it. No, that's okay. No, she's fine. They're like, she's fine. Her body is poison. What's he gonna do? You're funny. You're cute. Like, please. Bitch, please. I love our boys and their faith in us. We're innocent, sweet, and naive, but, you know, if we need to, we can kick ass. And they're never worried about... They're like, look, we're gonna go rescue her, but we're not worried. She'll be fine. Like, I mean, I don't know if that speaks volumes for us, or that they're just like, yeah, whatever, she'll be fine. They trust us, or they just don't care. I think they just trust us, but... Lupin! It's okay, the Baron's your love child. Okay. We were sure to train her well, so that she can handle any situation that's thrown at her. Besides, eccentric as that man may be, he doesn't seem to be the villainous type. Eccentric? They're like, you've met Saint Germain, right? This man's even more eccentric than Saint Germain. Well, wait. Well, no, then he might be okay. There's a point where you go even, like, more eccentric than Saint Germain, and then you have to worry. He's just so far beyond that he's just too eccentric to be evil. Well, even so, of course we're worried. Just you wait. Your prince will be at your side soon, princess. All right, then. I suppose I have nothing to be worried about. A rather curious response. Does the welfare of those two worry you when, by your own words, they no longer concern you? Of course I'm worried. If something were to happen to my precious target, I'd be in for the scolding of a lifetime. As for little Miss Baggage, well, I don't really care either way. She was supposed to be your daughter, and yet you... It's no use, Victor. When all is said and done, he's just another one of Finis' henchmen. He wouldn't know compassion if it slugged him. Slug him, Van Helsing. Let's find out. You're one to talk, my friend. In any event, my arm feels like it's ready to snap, so would you mind tightening my grip? Yeah. With the tisk of his tongue, Van Helsing loosens his grip slightly. Really? I mean, Van Helsing... Wrong way! As a result, something falls out of Miles's chest pocket. A small bottle rolls onto the floor. The moment he notices it, his face grows pale. Is that medicine? Or rather, poison? You had more of it. Hey, give that back! Despicable. What else were you planning to do with this poison? Wouldn't it be better to just hurry up and get rid of this thing? You know, hucking into the Thames or whatnot. And that's quite the daring proposal. How very much like you, Imby. Oh, look, he's smirking. No, Imby! We have to find a safe way to dispose of it or things could get serious. Stop! A yell tears through Victor's words and echoes through the back alley. Still trying to resist. Miles's face is completely pale. He squirms violently with no regard for his own pain, stretching his hand toward the bottle. Stop! Please stop! Don't throw that away! Please, I beg of you! That's the last one! Now that I've failed my mission, once that's gone, there'll be no way to save Cantarella, and this time she'll surely become someone I no longer know. Come again? What do you mean by that? Isn't this poison? Right. In terms of ingredients, this would most certainly qualify as poison. It would seem, then, that we have learned of his true intentions. Ahoy there, Miles! It's beyond me why you insist on wearing that mask of yours, but why don't you just cast it off so we can talk man to man without reserve? Of course, unless you want this bottle to be crushed, you have no right to refuse. Really? Okay. He's got his foot on the bottle. He's going to step on it, and he's like, but he's got a gun in his face. You were going to crush the bottle. You don't put the gun down, sweetie. Just put it. God, Van Helsing. So trigger happy. I love him. Van Helsing removes his restraints, but instead points a gun at him. Miles bites his lip, looks to the sky, and Miles Strand, too. As a member of the Special Intelligence Agency Twilight, he confronts Lupin's crew in order to capture the heroine, but only because Cantarella's life was on the line. See, I told you he wasn't like a terrible human being. What's the use? If it's come to this, I'll talk. I'll tell you everything. He scratches his head and heaves a deep sigh. I like him better when he's like sexy, angry, like douchebag. Like he's like, whatever. Whatever, I'm fabulous. Instead of being like, I'm gonna spend all our money and being a little too impy like. I like him better when he's like normal. Yeah, I like this. Yes, it's true. It's a deadly poison. But for Cantarella, it's a medicine that combats the object in her brain. The Zicterium, too. A deadly poison when used as a weapon, but there's a chance it can act as a lifeline for Cantarella by compounding it with a neutralizer. You must be joking. That can't be possible. But it is possible. That liquid is a combination of poison and neutralizer. The primary poison is an alteration of a particular toxic substance that can melt anything it comes into contact with. But with the neutralizer mixed in, it doesn't exhibit those effects. So why such a roundabout approach? To adjust the timing of the delivery mechanism. That is to say, it's the same idea as a pill. In melting away the neutralizer in her body, the poison will exhibit its effects after a certain amount of time passes. So consider what would happen if, say, the timing were to coincide with the flow of blood to her brain. You're saying that it would then specifically target the device in her brain? But wait, wouldn't that affect the entire brain, arteries, and blood vessels? Along with the neutralizer, there's also a magnetized iron solution mixed in, and so it only adheres to metallic objects. Everything else works just as you'd expect. Once it exhibits its effects, the remaining poison is filtered throughout the bloodstream. I mean, it is poison after all. It's enough to make her feel a little ill, but nowhere near enough to threaten her life. So you tried to mislead us by convincing us that you were making her drink poison? As Victor holds his head in his hands, Lupin places his hand like Victor's like, what the fuck? What is wrong with you? Anyway, places a hand on his shoulder. He steps forward, his brow furrowed. And now that I've failed my mission, once that's gone, there'll be no way to save Cantarella. I seem to recall you saying something along those lines. And that would suggest that you've been receiving that poison as payment from Twilight. And that is to say, you were forced to obey with her life on the line as hostage. Huh. How very like them. What? You mean to tell us this was all for Cantarella's sake? So all the terrible stuff you said back then was a bunch of flapdoodle? Flapdoodle! MP, I kind of love you right now. Why would you even say such... It don't matter my reasons. I've done something that she never would have wanted. It's beyond betrayal. A person like me doesn't deserve to call himself her parent. It'd be better if she just... If she just hated you. Is that what you're getting at? A moment of silence passes, and then... Lupin's fist smacks the right side of Miles's face. Oh, gotta love it. Next up. Impy's roundhouse kick scores a direct hit on his shin. I'll go easy on you. Brace yourself. I'll go easy on you. That was like 4 times harder. Yeah, that was easy for Van Helsing. It is. He just pound you in the next fucking decade. Without so much as a moment to yell, Van Helsing strikes him on the left side of his face, causing him to fly back several feet. That's going easy. Yikes! That's your idea of going easy? If Van Helsing had not held back, I believe that a few lumps would be the least of Miles's problems. Though the two refrain from joining in, they don't seem to show much concern for him. Miles looks up at them and slowly gets to his feet. What the? What was that for all of a sudden? I was a fool to even slightly see myself in you. Let's assume that I'm convinced by your reasoning to betray her. Either way, out of everything you could have done, can't forgive you for leaving out those words. I know better than anyone that life isn't fair. I know of a family forced apart by death that was never able to exchange their goodbyes. You, on the other hand, knew that was coming. Perhaps it's inconsiderate of me to say this, but I rather envy those who had the chance to tie up their loose ends. And you had ample time to speak those final words. In spite of that, you renounced that privilege. Oh, Van Helsing! Oh! They could be related. Oh my god, are they like related? They could be related. Look at them. Look at the hair and the eyes. Guys, I just... Miles, is Van Helsing secretly your older brother that we did? Oh my god! Okay, that's just... I don't care if that's even what's happening. That's what's happening in my head. Like, Miles is like, I have a brother I don't even know. And Van Helsing's like, I thought my family was dead! Oh my god, it's beautiful! I ship this. Look, but seriously, they have the same color hair and eyes. It's a little freaking me out right now. It just dawned on me, like them standing next to each other. Ugh. And the regret of not being able to talk face to face in the end will forever remain a scar for the one left behind. And you're telling your daughter to forget about that pain and live with it? If she were capable of that, she wouldn't be human. And you'd sooner see her become a doll than save her. At that moment, everyone raises their heads at once as a distant rumble echoes. Oh, and now, never a dull moment. I presume this hardly portends good tidings. Let us have a look. He's like, we're fucked. The rumble echoes from afar intermittently over the city of London. Pushing through the concerned residents who exchange confused looks, they follow the sound until they arrive at the top of the outer walls that surround the city. Saint Germain, who took the lead, is the first to peer over the outer wall. He ducks down, he's like, guys, we're all gonna die. He's like, ah! They're like, what is it? Nothing. It's a castle on legs. And it's coming this way, and it's got fucking cannons. We're dead. My, oh my. And this is quite... He squints his narrow eyes and turns to the other members who climb behind him. Count, do you see something? I did. It would be best if you all had a look for yourselves. He's like, This is Saint Germain's scared shitless face, by the way. There's quite the interesting spectacle to behold. One reminiscent of one boy's youth that we've all but forgotten. One's boyish youth that we've all but forgotten. I'll reserve judgment until I see it. Saint Germain's idea of interesting or fun always has some dangerous strings attached. Oh boy, don't I know it. Anywho, for a quake, the epicenter is odd. What in the world is going on? Suddenly another violent rumble. Oh god. It's a little big, but there's no edge there, and I just imagine you, like, being shaken and then falling off the wall. Ah! Lupin and the others lean against the outer wall as the dangerous force of the quake rocks through them. And then, they silently stand looking out at the view before them. You're not gonna see the fucking castle. Anyway. I'm gonna wrap this part up here, and we'll have fun with the moving castle in the next part. This was so great. I love this. Anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.